I need to get this off my chest because I genuinely feel like I'm living in a fever dream, but the court documents on my desk say otherwise. A little background so you understand the stakes here. I run a specialized logistics and freight brokerage firm. It's not glamorous, it's high stress, high margin work, and I built it from nothing. I started when I was 22, eating instant noodles and working out of a damp storage unit because I couldn't afford an office. I sacrificed my 20s to build something real. Then there's my older brother. Let's call him Golden Child, 32 male. He has never held a job for longer than 6 months. He's a self-proclaimed visionary and an idea guy. He's had startups ranging from drop-shipping knockoff smartwatches to a crypto consultancy that lost our aunt $5,000 in a weekend. My parents have always enabled him. If I got an A in school, it was expected. If he didn't get arrested for a weekend, they threw a parade. I moved out the second I could afford a rent, but I kept low contact because, stupidly, I craved that family connection. I thought if I became successful enough, they'd finally respect me. I even bought the house they live in 2 years ago when Dad retired early, got fired, and they were facing foreclosure. I pay the property taxes, the insurance, and the major maintenance. They live there rent-free. Last week was Grandma's 80th birthday. She's the only one in that house I genuinely respect. She lives in the in-law suite attached to the main house. I drove 4 hours to get there for the party. When I arrived, the vibe was weirdly manic. Usually, Mom is frantic in the kitchen, complaining about the oven. This time, she was sitting in the living room with Dad and Golden Child, all smiling like they just won the lottery. Dad shook my hand way too vigorously and said, "Happy to see you, son. Big day, big opportunities ahead." I brushed it off, thinking he was just excited about the party, and went to put my bag in my old bedroom. I stay over maybe twice a year, but I keep some important stuff there. My first business licenses, my old drafting table where I mapped out my first shipping routes, and a collection of vintage model trucks I'd built with Grandpa before he passed. Those trucks were the only physical memory I had left of him. I opened the door and froze. My room was gone. The walls were painted a jarring, headache-inducing neon green. My drafting table? Gone. My bed? Gone. The entire space was dominated by a massive, curved desk with a 4-monitor setup, a professional racing chair, and soundproofing foam glued all over the walls. It looked like a spaceship cockpit. "What is this?" I asked, my voice staying calm despite the absolute inferno rising in my chest. Golden Child sauntered up behind me, sipping a craft beer, looking incredibly pleased with himself. "My streaming setup. I'm getting into professional gaming and commentary. Needed a dedicated space. Your old junk was cramping the acoustics." I turned to look at him. My junk included things Grandpa gave me. Where is it? Mom appeared in the hallway, wiping her hands on an apron. "Oh, don't start drama, honey. We put it in storage." "Which facility?" I asked, pulling out my keys. "I'll go get it now." The curb," she mumbled, looking at the floor. "It was trash day last Tuesday. We didn't think you'd miss it. You have so much money now, just buy new ones." The air left the room. They threw away the last things I had of Grandpa. They threw away the drafting table where I built my livelihood. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just stared at them. That was the moment the emotional tether snapped. But I realized screaming would just make me look like the unreasonable one, and I sensed this was just the tip of the iceberg. "Right," I said, forcing a neutral expression. "We'll discuss that later. It's Grandma's birthday." I went to see Grandma in her suite. She looked frail, but her eyes were sharp as ever. She hugged me tight and whispered, "They're up to something. Your brother has been buying things, expensive things, and your mother has been whispering on the phone with lawyers." "Let them try," I said, kissing her forehead. "I can handle them." Dinner was a spectacle. Aunts, uncles, and cousins were there. We were halfway through the roast beef when Dad clinked his glass with a fork, standing up with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Attention, everyone," Dad announced. "We have a special announcement. As you know, our family has always valued entrepreneurship, And we realized that it's unfair for one son to bear the burden of success alone, while the other has untapped potential. I put my fork down. Here it comes. We've decided to restructure, to bring the family closer. I have drawn up papers to officially bring Golden Child on as a managing partner in your company, with a 51% controlling interest. The table went dead silent. My cousin actually choked on his water. I stared at Dad. You've decided? You don't own my company. You have zero equity. We raised you, Mom interjected, her voice going shrill. We supported you when you were nobody. That business is a product of this family's love and support. It's family property. Golden Child leaned back, looking smug. Bro, look, I know you're good at the boring logistics stuff, trucks and schedules, but I have vision. I'm going to rebrand us. NFTs, blockchain integration for supply chains, we're going to the moon. I'll handle the strategy, you just keep the trucks running. He slid a thick envelope across the table toward me. Sign it. It's already notarized on our end. I opened the envelope. It was a transfer of stock agreement. Poorly drafted, probably a template they found online, but the intent was clear. They wanted me to sign over majority control to a man who couldn't manage a lemonade stand. No, I said, sliding it back. This is a joke, right? It wasn't a request, Dad said, his voice dropping an octave, trying to sound intimidating. We have leverage. Oh, what leverage? Dad nodded to Golden Child. My brother pulled out his phone. I know you've been running lean. I know you fired 3 drivers last month. I know you missed a delivery window for that pharmaceutical client in Ohio. That's public record. I fired them for stealing fuel, and the delay was a massive weather event that shut down the interstate. That's not leverage. It is when I spin it, Golden Child sneered. I've been building a following. I have 50,000 followers on Twitter. If I start a thread about how my wealthy brother runs a sweatshop, fires hard-working dads right before the holidays, and endangers public health with negligent shipping, your reputation tanks. Clients leave. Or, you bring me on, I revitalize the image, and we all get rich. This is extortion, I stated flatly. It's aggressive negotiations, Dad corrected. Look, son, you have enough. Your brother has nothing. He needs a win. You owe us this. We gave you life. We let you live here rent-free until you were 22. I paid rent. I have the canceled checks to prove it. Don't be petty. Mom slammed her hand on the table. He is your brother. You will do this. We already promised the bank. Pause. You promised the bank? I asked. Which bank? We took out a loan, Dad said, looking slightly sweaty now, to renovate the house, to build your brother's studio. We used your company's projected valuation as collateral. Think he's already a partner. If you don't sign, they might investigate the loan application. My blood ran cold. They committed fraud. They impersonated officers of my company or forged documents to secure a personal loan. The audacity was so immense, I almost respected the sheer scale of the stupidity. They were willing to tank my livelihood and commit federal crimes just to prop up their golden failure. I looked around the table. My aunts and uncles looked horrified, but nobody spoke up. They were all afraid of Mom's temper. Then Grandma stood up. She was shaking, leaning heavily on her cane. Sit down, Mother, Dad snapped. This is business. This is theft. Grandma's voice cracked like a whip. She reached into her knitting bag and pulled out a stack of crumbled papers. You want to talk about banks? Let's talk about mine. She threw the papers on the table. They scattered over the roast beef. I went to the bank yesterday, Grandma said, glaring at Golden Child, because my card was declined at the pharmacy. The teller told me my savings account was empty, the account your father has power of attorney over. Dad went pale. Golden Child stopped smiling and started looking at the exit. $200,000, Grandma said, over 3 years, consulting fees paid to GC Enterprises. That's you, isn't it? She pointed a trembling finger at my brother. Grandma, I was investing it for you, Golden Child stammered. The market is just down right now. It's crypto. It fluctuates. You bought a jet ski, Grandma yelled. I saw it in the garage under the tarp. You bought that stupid computer setup. You stole from an old woman. It's my inheritance anyway, Golden Child shouted, jumping up, his face red. Why should I wait until you die? I need it now. I have big plans. The silence that followed was deafening. Even Mom looked shocked that he said the quiet part out loud. I stood up. I picked up the contract they wanted me to sign and ripped it in half slowly. Here is what is going to happen, I said. My voice was low, steady, and dangerous. Dad, Mom, brother, you have committed fraud against a financial institution by representing him as a partner to a bank. That is a federal crime. You have attempted to extort me. That is a felony. I turned to my brother. And you just confessed to elder financial abuse in front of 12 witnesses. You won't call the cops, Mom scoffed, though she looked terrified. Family doesn't do that to family. I'm not calling the cops yet. I'm calling my lawyer. I pulled out my phone. I didn't need to look up the number. Hey, David. Yeah, I'm putting you on speaker. Were you able to file that motion? Filed and granted by the emergency judge an hour ago. The temporary restraining order based on the credible threat of financial abuse and extortion has been signed. The sheriff is on standby. I looked at my parents. You forgot something important. 2 years ago, when you were about to be foreclosed on, I bought this house. The deed is in my name. You live here because I let you. You are tenants at will. You wouldn't, Dad whispered. I just did. Since there is a restraining order involving elder abuse against a resident of the home, Grandma, and threats against the homeowner, the order includes a move-out clause. You have to leave tonight. And the money? Grandma asked, looking at me. David, I said to the phone, add civil counts for conversion and elder abuse against the parents and the brother. We're freezing their assets. Already in motion, David replied. We flagged the accounts. If they try to move a cent, the bank locks down. Golden Child lunged across the table. I'll kill you. You ruined everything. You're jealous of me. My uncle, who played linebacker in college, tackled him before he got halfway to me. The entitlement had finally met a wall it couldn't gaslight its way through. I looked at my parents. Mom was sobbing, not for me, but wailing about how she would look to the neighbors. Dad was staring at the table, realizing his retirement plan, leeching off me, was dead. You threw away Grandpa's things, I said. You erased my existence in this house, so now I'm returning the favor. You are no longer my parents. You are tenants who haven't paid rent, and you are fraudsters. I turned to Grandma. Pack a bag. You're coming with me. I have a guest room, and it's not getting turned into a gaming studio. I'll drive her, my cousin volunteered, glaring at his aunt and uncle. I walked out of that house while my brother was being restrained by family members and my mother was trying to bargain with the heir. The fallout has been swift and brutal. Because I owned the house and obtained the restraining order, I had the legal right to inspect the property immediately after the sheriff removed them that night. I brought a police escort the next day to retrieve Grandma's remaining belongings. We found that Golden Child had punched holes in the drywall of his studio and poured energy drinks into the carpet before the sheriff dragged him out. The legal machinery is grinding them down, and it is satisfyingly thorough. First, the fraud. My lawyer contacted the bank they applied to for the loan. When the bank learned the collateral, my company, was not theirs to pledge and the documents were forged, they immediately called the loan and opened a fraud investigation. Dad is looking at serious jail time for bank fraud. Second, the theft. We forensic audited Grandma's accounts. It wasn't just the $200K. They had taken credit cards in her name and maxed them out on luxury vacations they claimed were business trips. Golden Child is facing multiple counts of elder abuse and grand larceny. The district attorney is very interested because stealing from Grandma is a headline jurors hate. The third, the house. The eviction is finalized. They are out. They have nowhere to go. Their credit is torched from the fraud investigation. No landlord will touch them. They are currently staying in a cheap motel, burning through whatever cash they have left. They have been blowing up my phone from burner numbers since I blocked their mains. How can you do this to your flesh and blood? We're going to be homeless. Just drop the lawsuit and we'll forgive you. They will forgive me. The delusion is terminal. I drove by the house yesterday to meet a contractor to fix the drywall. There was a pile of trash on the curb that the cleanout crew had started. I stopped just for a second. Sitting on top of a garbage bag, rain-soaked and broken, was the frame of one of the model trucks I built with Grandpa. It turns out Mom lied. They hadn't thrown it away weeks ago. They had shoved it in the garage attic and forgotten about it. It was tossed onto the pile during the clean-out. I got out of the car and picked it up. It was ruined, the wood warped, the paint chipped, but I put it in my passenger seat. It sits on my desk now, next to the file marked State versus Family Name. It serves as a reminder. You can't build a future if you keep letting people termite your foundation. Grandma is loving her new room at my place. She's safe, my business is secure, and for the first time in my life, I don't feel the need to prove anything to them. I've already won. I erased them from my life, and unlike my bedroom, I'm not putting anything back. If you enjoyed watching entitled relatives get absolutely wrecked by the legal system, hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing, unlike my brother's legal defense.